Imagine a 30-inch wide oil-coated pipe suddenly pulling you in with lightning speed. 5 people find themselves in a heart-stopping situation just like this. But only one of them survives to tell the unheard story to the world. A GoPro camera, attached to one of their suits, captures everything. Footage so intense that it will make your hands and feet tremble. Trapped 60 feet below the ocean in a 30-inch wide pipe filled with crude oil for 2 days. This is what happened to Christopher, Kazim, Yusuf, Rishi, and Faisal. Out of the 5, only Christopher survived. The rest tragically lost their lives. What they went through while being stuck in the pipe was horrifying and truly spine-chilling. There is even footage of this incident, which we will show you later in the video. So, let's dive into the terrifying story of the Paria Diving Incident, an event so shocking that it leaves people breathless just hearing about it. It was February 25th, 2022. On the northern coast of South America, in the coastal town of Puerto Pierre, was a company named Paria. The 5 men involved in the accident were workers at Paria Fuel Trading Company, responsible for maintaining oil pipelines. That day, they were working on a section of the pipeline that had been out of use for a long time. This pipeline was U-shaped. One end, known as Berth 5, was where oil tankers unloaded crude oil. The crude oil then traveled through the pipeline to Berth 6, where the Niquan refinery was located for processing. The workers' task that day was to separate the upper section of the pipeline from water, allowing them to stand inside with their equipment and carry out maintenance. To prevent hydrocarbons from escaping the pipeline, air plugs were also installed. In addition, a special chamber, known as a habitat bell, was used to work on the pipeline. Think of it like this: if you place a glass upside down in a bucket of water, the water won't enter the glass. Similarly, the habitat bell creates a dry working space inside the pipeline by releasing air pressure, allowing workers to operate efficiently. That day, their task was to enter the pipeline and remove the air plug, but the moment they removed it, a tragic accident occurred. In an instant, a powerful surge of water rushed in with immense force, violently sucking them into the pipeline. The suction was so intense that within 90 seconds, they were dragged 20 feet downward and 120 feet deep inside the pipe. Footage of the incident shows a normal scene at first, but then, everything turns to complete darkness. Fortunately, because the pipeline wasn't perfectly straight, they found a small air pocket where they could still breathe. But despite this, they had no idea what had just happened to them. The water flow was so intense that some of them even suffered broken bones. Inside the pipeline, visibility was 0. They couldn't see anything. But the most shocking part was that the very air they were breathing inside the pipe was the reason they were trapped. Technically, the pipeline should have contained 1,200 barrels of crude oil, but there was less than expected, creating an area filled with low-density air. When they removed the air plug, the high-density air from the chamber rushed into the low-density air zone, creating a violent water vortex. This powerful suction dragged everything deeper into the pipeline. Their only escape route was to go back the way they came in, toward Berth 6. However, since they couldn't see anything, they had no idea which direction to go. If they took the wrong turn, they would end up at Berth 5, toward the open ocean, which meant instant death. After much thought, they decided to follow the direction of their heads, assuming that was the correct way out. But they had no other options. It was a desperate gamble. They couldn't survive inside the pipeline for too long, but as they attempted to escape, they faced yet another problem. Since the pipeline wasn't completely straight, some sections had air pockets where they could breathe, but in other parts, it was completely filled with water. If they tried to hold their breath and swim through the flooded sections but failed to find another air pocket in time, they would die instantly. At this point, Christopher and Faisal decided to move forward on their own. Their plan was simple: escape first and send help for the other 3. As they moved forward, they got trapped in another air pocket, but then a miracle happened. They felt something nearby. It was an oxygen tank. With this, they could stay underwater longer, but there was one big problem. It was too dark to see how much oxygen was left in the tank. The oxygen tank was about to run out, but at that moment, they bumped into something. Another oxygen tank. However, this tank was missing its mouthpiece. The part needed to breathe properly. To use it, they had to press their mouths directly onto the tank's opening, and in doing so, they inhaled crude oil. Crude oil is thick, black, and highly toxic. It is refined into petrol and diesel. If it gets into the mouth or eyes, it causes intense burning. By this time, Faisal's oxygen tank had also run out, and due to his broken bones, he was in extreme pain. He couldn't continue, so Christopher had to move forward alone. After struggling for 2 hours, Christopher's oxygen tank hit something, a bend in the pipeline. This discovery made him feel both relieved and terrified. If this was the opening to berth 6, he could escape, but if it was berth 5, it would be completely sealed, leaving him trapped forever. Since the water level inside the pipeline was low, swimming up and escaping was impossible. Christopher started banging on the pipeline, making as much noise as possible. At that moment, some rescuers heard his cries for help. They lowered a chain into the pipe and pulled him out. As soon as Christopher emerged, the first thing he said was that his 4 friends were still trapped inside, and they were alive. They desperately needed help. At this point, the rescuers should have carefully extracted the crude oil or used another rescue method. The rescue team was ready to go in, but the company refused to give them permission. The reason? The company did not have large enough oxygen cylinders, and if the rescuers went inside, their lives would also be in danger. Hearing this, Christopher himself was ready to go back in to save his friends, but the company stopped him too. When Christopher explained the situation, the rescuers began knocking on the pipeline to locate the trapped men. Surprisingly, all 4 responded by banging back on the pipe, confirming that they were still alive. Watch the footage here. For the next 48 hours, Paria Fuel Trading Company did nothing to help. They left the 4 men to die inside the pipeline. In their desperation, they slowly lost their lives, trapped in the darkness. A major company's negligence had cost the lives of its own workers. But what's even more shocking is that despite the severity of the incident, Paria faced a police inquiry, yet no one was punished. Even worse, the families of the deceased workers were not given a single penny as financial compensation. And for more videos like this, stay connected, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and write your opinion about this incident in comment section. Thank you.